Hey, what's going on, guys? So at our house right now, we've been hosting some people for a few weeks and they're in transition before they get to their permanent spot. And one thing they do all the time is they cook, and they cook very well. They cook a couple of meals a day, and oftentimes I'll join them and I'll, benefit from their amazing cooking. And the cooking that they do, sometimes it takes a long time, right? So they, cook for maybe an hour, preparing a bunch of stuff. And for me, I'm a quick person, so I usually eat, simple things. But for them, they're making all this stuff that takes a while. Sometimes you have to, marinate something. Sometimes you have to like set something out for a long time. And the process that they have and the ingredients that they use are very complicated. And of course, if you appreciate cooking, you know that one that is a chef or, a connoisseur of sorts, they just go through a lot of things to put together their amazing creation. If you ever seen shows and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of complexity. And even now, we're in a time where there's so much option, so much creativity that you can exhibit from cooking. And I was just thinking about that. And if you think about it, life is like that. Life is a place where God is always cooking something in your life, whether it's in your individual life, whether it's things and situations, whether it's people, or things at the high level with situations around you. There's always a complexity to how circumstances, how events, how people, how different things are sequenced in a way where it results in something. And a lot of times it results in a lot of redemption, a lot of benefit, a lot of growth, a lot of positive things. Because just like with cooking, you have to go through a certain sequence. You have to go through a process. Sometimes it takes some time, marinating, setting things out, letting things cook on a stove or in an oven. And during that process, some things get hurt. You chop up some ingredients and it looks like it's, hopeless, with, something that look whole and good, but then you chop it up only to have it mix in with something else. And then even then it looks like a bunch of, slop, then only to cook it, heat it up and make it go through some process to have the end goal be something beautiful. And that analogy of whether it looks good and it's temporarily bad, it temporarily looks like it's disgusting, and you don't just eat something. You don't eat bread or you don't eat a cake before it cooks, right? It's like all mixed together, and then you don't go and eat that. You have to wait till it cooks, and then at the end of it, when everything's said and done, then you can eat it and you can enjoy it, right? And you never eat an ingredient by itself. You don't just chew on garlic and think that, oh, like that's cake. You have to wait till it mixes, till it goes in with something else, and not even then do you consume it. You wait till it's completed. But the problem is, a lot of people, they don't see it that way. They don't see life. They don't see how God is using your life and cooking something in your life and see it from that perspective. Because as much as people come in and out of your life, as much as circumstances come in and out of your life, it's just like with cooking. The knife must come in. It must chop you up. It must allow some things to be mixed. You have to go into a blender to grind, yourself together, mix with somebody else or something else or some situation, and then only to have it come out sitting for some time, and then for it to go into the oven or to go on top of a stove, for which it hurts. That process hurts. And that's what life is. Life, and whether you're looking at the situations around you and you're like, man, I want COVID-10. No, I want my job right now. No, I want, this or whatever it is that you want right now and that you believe that God has for you. I want to get married right now. You don't just meet somebody and then you just get married the next day, right? You don't just go into an interview and then you start the next day. You have to go through this process in vetting and in developing and growing with each other, experiencing that thing. And even with people, God allows it so that people come into your life, people exit from your life, and the power of community, the power of the body of Christ. You don't ever do something by yourself either. He brings people into your life, he allows them to exit, and then together, oftentimes, you overcome, right? And so there's even that verse, Ecclesiastes chapter 4, though one may not be easily overtaken by another, two can withstand him. And a threefold cord is not easily broken. And a lot of us, we don't see it that way. We see it as, man, why is it that I'm, fighting myself? Why is it that, God is allowing me to go through something? And we don't see it end to end. We see it just in one momentary place. And so I want to encourage a lot of you guys, as much as you're looking at life, as much as you're looking at your situation, as much as you're looking at something and saying, man, I'm alone, I'm doing this by myself. You're not alone. You're not in a place where you're the only person who has to go through that. You're the only person who God has allowed you to experience what you're going through, because God is there training, heating up other people. He's chopping up other people. He's testing other people. And together, until, all of you guys or whoever it is gets in that blender together, before a lot of us get into a certain scenario together, God won't move us. He won't heat us up. He won't mix us. He won't do a lot of these things until all of us are ready. And so a chef chops up something, and then next he'll chop up something else. And then there's a sequence, right? And so whether you're struggling with something, among your family, among your community, if it's, a job situation, a lot of us are going through the same thing with vaccines, with elections, with many things holistically. Your own country, you have probably your own issues in your own country, right? There are things that are happening right now in the spirit. There are things that are happening as a generation that you're learning the same things, you're experiencing the same things, and as a church that we must go through as a global body of Christ, as a local body of Christ, such that in the end, when you're cooked up, when you're heated up, when you're mixed up, when you're doing all these, you're set out, in the end, you're going to be this delicious meal. You're going to experience a delicious meal. And so if you look at life, like I saw, the people that were hosting in that way, with the meals that they're making, the delicious, things that they're doing. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it's a process that you can't ignore or skip or just, go through lightheartedly. It's a process that God knows that as much as you have to set something else or set something out or marinate something or whatever it is, He's doing that in your life, in society, in your community, in your circumstance, with your relationships, with the people around you, with your family, with your spouse, with your girlfriend, with your children, whatever it is, for a reason, because He knows what's at the end of that process and that sequence. And that sequence, that process often can't be broken. You can't just make bread and, ignore the cooking part of it, the baking part of it. And so that's what's happening with life right now. So whether it's people, whether it's circumstances, I want to encourage you guys to keep going, to see it from that perspective, even if you don't understand it. And that's what faith is about, right? Faith is trusting and ensuring that whatever you can't see, whatever you can't understand completely in terms of why God allowed you to go through this, why God is extending a period of X, Y, Z, He's doing it for a reason. And the ingredients, the people that are cooking, sometimes they don't even know. They don't even know how it's going to turn out. They don't even know why it is that, garlic doesn't know why it's being mixed into something, right? And so you have to know that as well. You have to realize that in faith, trusting Him, that He's allowing you to go through this. And so hopefully this blessed you guys. God bless you, and I'll talk to you guys very soon.